Yo guys, it's Josh, and I'm just wanting to preface this video really fast. If you guys notice any problems with the audio or the video or anything, and you think we can make any improvements, please let me know in the comments below. I didn't get a chance to say anything during the actual show, but I noticed a few things after I was done recording that can't really do anything about because I thought the show was pretty good overall, and that I know Crush's audio is low, but like little things like that, let me know. Maybe something I missed, just let me know, and I will try my best to fix it as best as I can. Thank you guys so much. Peace. What is going on, everybody? My name is Josh, and welcome to episode 1 of the Carnage Report. I am Josh, your host, and that's Rush. That's right. He said it. He said it. He did. And today, we are introducing the pilot episode of the Carnage Report, a weekly show that we're going to be doing here on Official Carnage TV. You can tune in every Friday or Saturday. We're really not sure on the day yet, but it's going to be one of those 2 days. It's a toss-up, guys. It's a toss-up. But today, we're going to be talking about 3 topics. Well, 2 or 3 topics. We're going to be talking about the PA organization, Amateur League, a little bit about Noble buying Elevate's spot in the MLG COD League, and MRKN WiLD and Radius merging together. So we're going to kick it off here with the PA Organization League. Talk a little bit about the different prizes and such. It's a winner-takes-all 8-team league with $500 prize pool. I guess $500, okay, for first place. You're going to get some clothes, a team sponsorship from Better Builds PCs, 100 MLG credits, 4 pairs of Gamer's Edge glasses, and a pass into Season 2 of the league. So that's pretty crazy. They're doing a qualifier on the 16th, and here's the teams.
32 of those teams. All of those are top AM teams. Some of them you may have heard of, some of you may not. We follow... Here at Carnage, we follow the AM scene pretty closely, so we know most of these guys. And there are actually 4 teams already in the league, and those are Revenge, Noble Gold, Annex Gaming, and last one slipped my mind. Help me, Josh. Shave me. Oh, goodness.
Oh, man.
I just had it.
I did too. There's one more, guys. There's one more team.
All right, Josh, you keep rolling. I'm going to look.
Okay.
Hey guys, how you doing?
All right, so while he's looking, basically there's going to be 4 teams coming out of this OQ, and there's basically 4 different sections of the bracket. So there's like top 8 teams. Like, I wish I could like point at the graphic. I wish I had like a green screen behind me so I could do all this stuff, but I can't. So you have Strictly Business at the top, and then the next set of 4 matches is Vex. And then the next set is Carnage. Look at that. We're there, making our presence known. And the next set is FUF at the top.
We them boys. That other team, by the way, was Excellence.
Oh, of course. Duh. Right?
Face palm.
Of course. So we're going to be throwing our predictions down for which 4 teams we think are going to come out of this OQ. Some of the different matches that they might face that could be a little bit harder. And so why don't you go ahead, kick that off.
All right, guys. Basically, the way this works, it's a single elimination tournament, and so yeah, one loss, you're done. Looking at the top of the bracket, up where it says round 1, Strictly Business obviously is the heavy favorite going into this tournament, I think. So I pretty much, and looking at the teams, some of the teams, D2K, United Mass Gaming's pretty good, Morality is pretty good, but I have Strictly Business making it all the way to the top 4 through their little bracket there. I think their biggest challenge is probably going to be Morality, who did decently at Anaheim. And then in that bottom part of the bracket, Vex Gaming. Now I'm not entirely sure who's on that roster now, but I think
Mud
Pluto,
Dog,
are still there.
J Rich.
J Rich is on there, and I can't remember.
I don't know who the 4th is either.
They're going to be my heavy favorite. Empire Esports isn't bad. Talent Gaming's not bad. I think the other team to watch out for in this bracket is going to be STDX Bolo Zero. They always seem to do fairly well, especially considering this is an online league. This is an important thing. This is not a LAN. This is online.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm basing my predictions off that because this is. I also believe this is on the Xbox One, correct?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure all teams have switched over to the Xbox One.
So yep, there's that. So Vex would be my favorite from this one. We're going down to the bottom side of the bracket. The one that we're in, obviously Carnage. Carnage is going all the way.
Of course.
But that being said, I think the biggest hurdle for them is going to be the XGN competitive team, which if we play each other, it will be in round 3, which will mean the winner of that match goes to the top 4. And then that bottom part, there's some decent Moral Pro imperfections in there. Skyline's not too bad, but I actually have Foof, which is Fearless Under Fire. Foof. But I have them going into the top 4. So in my mind, I'm picturing top 4 right now: Strictly Business, Vex Gaming, Carnage, and Fearless Under Fire.
I'm going to basically agree with that top 4. SB, the only team I could really see giving them a hard time is Mortality. Then Vex, the only team I could see them giving a hard time is STDX. That's really the only team in that group there. And then the only team that I see giving us a hard time would be XGN, like you said, that they're a pretty talented team. And then the only team that I could see potentially beating FUF is you might have Moral, you might have Imperfection. That's really the only teams that I could see beating FUF. So overall, yeah, I'm going to go with an SB, Vex, Carnage, and FUF Final 4 going into the league. So that will wrap up the PA League. The next thing that we're going to talk about is ELV getting their Season 3 league spot bought by Noble, and then Noble partnering up with Vanquish to compete in the. I know it's a very sticky situation. A lot of which people don't agree with. I don't even necessarily agree with this, but it is what it is. It's just a lot of different factors that go into league spots and investments for teams, and it's just a whole big thing.
The way I see it is or this is, if I'm Noble, this is what I'm thinking. This is how I'm rationalizing it in my head. I'm gonna pay. We're not quite sure on the number, but everything that we've seen is between like 4 and 6K that they paid for this spot from Elevate. But my biggest rationalization is branding, getting your name out there. You may get your butt kicked, but your name's gonna be out there. And it's just complicated because they're not using any of the players that they had on the team. Like, they dropped the whole roster, and then they merged with VQ, which is Vanquish, and right now they're playing with 3/4 of VQ's roster and then Gucci.
It should be like, it's like half of Elevate, because Chino technically officially never left Elevate, but I mean, he is on VQ. So.
Okay, because right now they're playing with Gucci, Cinder. No, it's not Miyagi. Miyagi.
No,
Miyagi.
It's definitely Miyagi.
Is it?
It's Miyagi.
Oh, it's Strife I'm thinking of. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's Miyagi, Chino, Gucci, and Sender.
Anyway, so they're playing with 3/4 of Vex and then Gucci from Elevate, and then Chino, earned that spot through the open bracket.
And so did Gucci. Gucci did.
And so did Gucci.
Yeah.
So they stated the other day that Gucci was a pickup.
But he was on the team that played at Anaheim.
I know, but I don't understand it because Cinder and Miyagi didn't qualify, but they're able to play.
They were drafted.
As Elevates?
No, not Elevates. They might have been Elevates, but how it worked was, so when Noble bought the spot, they couldn't use any of those 4 players, right? So they could have used those 4 players. The only 2 players that were qualified were Realize and James, because those were the only 2 players that were drafted by other teams, not necessarily Elevate, but other teams, and they could get traded to Noble. So Noble was basically going to have to trade for other players and then get conditional draft picks or whatever, like picks, because you need to have that 8-man roster along with, I know it's so confusing. You need to have that 8-man roster with the 4 subs and the 4 starters. Basically, they just took Vanquish and they took Gucci and they stuck them together with an 0-8 record that really isn't salvageable. even though they went 3-1 in the past 2 days.
Yeah, and I find that very interesting because they are now tied with
Curse.
yeah,
Here's
tied with
here's
Curse
the
in
standings
last
in the
place.
season.
They're tied with Curse in last place, and they're one game behind. Um, what's their new name?
Most Wanted.
Most Wanted Esports, which we're going to talk about in a second.
Mm-hmm.
So it's technically still doable. There's still matches left in the season. That's why the only thing I can think of is it's going to be hard to get into that top 8 just because of the
How many
teams there.
how many
Quality of teams.
games do they play in total?
How many do this season? I'm not sure. They lowered it from last season because they're not playing on the weekends this season. So I can't remember. They haven't even announced when the LAN is. So who knows?
Yeah.
But that's why I can only rationalize it as a PR move because you're paying that kind of money to not play in the champs bracket.
Yeah.
More than likely.
I mean, it makes sense if you look at it that way. If you look at it as they are trying to get their name out there, but however, do you really want to pay $4,000 for that? Plus, you're most likely, and I say most likely because it is possible for them to get into the top 8 and play in champs bracket.
For 2 reasons. One, it's only Call of Duty, and 2, it's Ghost.
Exactly. Miyagi was rated, 4th in Kingdom Soldiers' biggest warrior.
Miyagi is a god online.
Yeah.
But then again, he's
a good at land too.
Man.
Yeah.
What was it? X Games. He dropped like a 40 bomb at X Games and like went flawless in a search and destroy.
He's
Miyagi,
extremely underrated too.
Was that Attach? I can't remember.
They look the same. They really do. Attached and Miyagi could be twins. I'm serious. Not because they're Asian. They just look very similar.
Anyway, so but and then Slasher was in the league already. He was in the league last season on Vex, and then he was on the Elevate team. Or he was a sub for Elevate, then he became a starter, and then he left to join VQ. I think is what it was.
Everybody left to join VQ.
Yeah, so it's just really complicated. So overall, the Rotten Tomatoes scores.
Yeah,
right now,
I agree. I agree.
Except as a PR move. That's the only way I see it.
Yeah. Then we have the MRKN WiLD and Radius merger. For those of you that don't know, a little bit of quick background. At the beginning of the season, FaZe, it was Red, right? FaZe Red was dropped. The entire roster, the team, the funding, everything, FaZe just dropped their FaZe Red spot, everything. That meant that they needed to fill the spot for the Season 3 League. So, who other than Mr. Blevins comes in and buys the spot? The guy who used to be affiliated with Curse buys the spot, but does not announce any branding rosters. And this was before they announced the 8-man roster you had to qualify for the league. That's before they announced that. Then we had the whole turn of events where Saint gets dropped from Rise, and teams are being made. Replays FaZe Red players were going everywhere. Madness occurred. But anyway, they got the spot. It was Radius ended up coming out with the spot. That's Blevins' team.
And his first step should have been to hire a GFX.
Of course. Strats made a pretty awesome logo.
Yeah, but the one that Blev Dog decided to use.
Wow, yeah. They had some branding.
Paint.
Yeah, it was MS Paint. That's what it looked like. It was bad. It was bad. And there was a lot of controversy behind the logo because it killed your eyes whenever you looked at it. Anyway, I think their branding is a lot better now.
Much. Well, essentially what they did is and if you guys did not know, if you don't know who MRKN WiLD was, earlier before the season started, WiLD Gaming and MRKN merged into MRKN WiLD,
which was a horrible name.
Yeah, which is a horrible name, by the way. I mean,
they just took the two names and combined them together. Oh, I don't want to get rid of my branding. I don't want to get rid of my branding either. We're making the name MRKN WiLD.
So anyway, so when MRKN WiLD, I don't know exactly. Nobody really knows exactly what happened with that merger. So anyway, at some point behind closed doors, Blev Dog and
whoever was the guy that his Twitter name is MRKN Boss or MW Boss.
And then, but anyway, they talked behind closed doors, and they apparently came out of nowhere and announced this: "Hey, Radius and MRKN WiLD are merging, and we are now going to be most wanted." And essentially, they have the same exact branding as MRKN WiLD because they changed their name to Most Wanted. And basically they just changed their name on all the branding, but it's the same logo and all that stuff. So they went the cheap route, which is I think why they decided to go with Most Wanted, because they wanted to think of something catchy that wasn't MRKN WiLD.
Yeah, and it just happened to be an MW.
Yeah, and again, my reasoning with this is funding.
Oh yeah, a lot easier to fund.
I mean, one thing, the team's already doing piss poor in the league, even though they have that spot. They're doing very badly.
10th.
Yeah.
But they're only one behind the Call of Duty champs EG, which is, I mean, it's crazy. Online Call of Duty, right?
With the detriment,
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
so
MW.
the only thing I can see is it's a funding thing. It's all I can really think about it, or maybe it's a management thing, because Bleb Dog, the way I understood it is the entire reason that he left Curse was that he didn't have time to manage the Curse Call of Duty team anymore, which was what I thought the whole reason he left.
And then he owns his own team now.
And now he owns his own team, and I guess he was trying to manage it, and then he just didn't have time, and maybe he wanted some extra cash or some help with paying bills, so he got married. I mean that's the easiest way to describe it. He got married. So that's the way I see it.
But I think another reason they did it was because they originally had Fizzerp and Flawless, I think, and somebody else. They had a team of 3, and then Mud Dog was added to the team without Fizzerp knowing, and Fizzerp was like, "Nah, I don't want that." So
he basically said, well, I like Mud Dog, but he said he's old school. He wants to scrim. He wanted to scrim with him and run with him for a little while to make sure he was going to fit with the team.
Yeah.
Before they made a decision,
which makes sense. It makes sense.
But
I think
being a douche, but you never know.
Yeah, that was part of the reason I think that they did this, was because Fizz left and joined SB, and they really didn't have anything for a roster, and they still wanted to be part of the scene. Combine the teams, why not?
And they just kept the lineup, the team from Radius.
So I think that about wraps up this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed the pilot. Next week, I think we're going to try to bring on a guest. I had fun, and I hope you guys have fun watching. We're definitely doing this every week. So,
yeah, you guys, we'll give you some background on some of the Carnage players if you don't know them. And we'll keep you updated on how we do in the leagues, 2Ks, 5Ks. I believe there's a 5K. Is it 5K tomorrow?
Probably. I don't know if we're playing in it or not, though.
We better be. But anyway, guys, this is your boy Crush Sniper.
See you guys later. Peace. Kitties.